Movies like Spider-Man No Way Home come with massive amounts of hype and nostalgia. In the past, I've gotten so caught up in all the hype that I went from loving a movie on the first viewing to thinking it's just okay on rewatches. So with Spider-Man No Way Home, I wanted to do my best to take off my nostalgia glasses and take in the whole movie. And I gotta be honest, I feel pretty mixed on No Way Home. Don't get me wrong, there are a lot of great moments with the three Spider-Men, and the emotional beats hit hard when they need to. That's the glue that holds the whole movie together. Unfortunately, I just couldn't get on board with other elements of the movie, particularly in the first half. For me, the comedy just did not land 80% of the time. Maybe I just don't have the targeted sense of humor, but did we really need a Peter with his pants down joke again? At the very start of the movie. They literally already did that in Far From Home. There's a lot of humor like that just had me cringing. Now, I've enjoyed just about every Marvel movie and never really had a major issue with the humor taking me out of the movie. Hell, Thor Ragnarok is one of my favorites, and that's basically a straight up comedy. A lot of the time, I felt the humor was kind of making the characters act strangely. Like this scene with Aunt May. She offers Doc Ock salt water because she thinks that he might be an octopus. I mean, seriously, who in their right mind would see a guy with 4 metal arms and think, this man is an actual octopus? That kind of reasoning kind of made me question the character's thought process and brought me out of the movie. All that applies to Ned as well. It's like the last couple movies have just turned him into a joke. In the previous movie, he was in love with that girl, and the joke was supposed to be how random and weird it was. I feel like we really haven't gotten any development out of Ned since then. Ned is like the Joey Tribbiani of this Spider-Man trilogy, and they're asking us to believe that he was going to get into MIT, which just kind of feels unrealistic. Now, of course, there's always going to be unrealistic stuff in these movies. Spider-Men aren't real after all, that we know of. It only becomes notable to me when the characters act unrealistically compared to how they act in prior movies. And that brings me to Doctor Strange. The only way I can explain Doctor Strange's behavior in this movie is that he's drunk. Think about it. He's mysteriously no longer Sorcerer Supreme. He slips on the ice floor the first time we see him. Kinda sloppy for a wizard. And I'm thinking that's not coffee in that cup, if you know what I mean. Also, he's like, don't worry, the spell will work. I did it at a party once.
Do you remember the full moon party at Carmitage? Oh, exactly.
It would explain why his spell goes so wrong and how Peter miraculously overpowers him and traps him in the mirror dimension. Then, once he sobers up later in the movie, he's able to straighten out the spell again. But hey, that's just a theory. A film theory. Seriously though, film theory makes really good videos, so I don't know why you're watching this. It must be my charismatic charm, right? Hey, oh boy. The first half of the movie had a lot of scenes that felt awkwardly staged to set up a joke or a reference to past movies, which is basically what I do here on my YouTube channel, to be perfectly honest. That kind of made the flow of the movie feel pretty rough. All that said, there are some things that really worked well in this movie. Despite not caring for all the writers' choices, I can't imagine how difficult it would be to write all these different villains and Spider-Men, especially when they're from totally different movies by different writers. And you know, that's really where the movie shines, getting the key character elements right. Doc Ock, Green Goblin, they actually feel like they're pulled from Sam Raimi movies. And you know, Lizard and Sandman, they're there too. This is a nitpick, but did they really have to destroy the Goblin mask? Sure, I'm happy to see Willem Dafoe's fantastic Goblin facial acting, but it's not like that mask was really that weird compared to anything else in this movie. But we're in the positive section. Seeing the three Spider-Men together on screen is of course the main strength of this movie. The creative team did a great job at staying true to the characters. There are a lot of standout scenes with banter between the three Spider-Men. Stuff like them comparing their web shooters and Andrew Garfield's version feeling insecure for never going to space. I really enjoyed that stuff. But it's not just the comedic scenes. Like when Tobey and Andrew console Tom Holland's version of Spider-Man about Aunt May's death. Emotional moments like that hit really hard. Plus, my absolute favorite scene is when Andrew's Spider-Man saves MJ. It's the perfect scene to give Andrew's Spider-Man a way to redeem himself for his failure in Amazing Spider-Man 2, where Gwen Stacy died in the exact same scenario. Tom Holland did a great job with emotional scenes, but Andrew Garfield was the standout here. I really hope we can see his version of Spider-Man again, because this movie did a lot to redeem the shortcomings in his version. Plus, I think curing all the villains was an awesome plot development. It's a very Spider-Man thing to do, never giving up on the people who happen to go insane from their supernatural origins. Now, my only question is, what happens when the cured villains return to their universes? If they're not evil anymore, won't Tobey and Andrew's movies get changed or even erased? No evil Green Goblin means his son Harry shouldn't go nuts and die too, right? I also like at the end of the movie that everyone forgets that Peter even exists. Makes it a lot easier for him to be the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man in the future. Because mainly he's broke now. I always felt a little weird when he had Iron Man tech. Kinda hard to relate with a kid who has access to a billionaire's technology all the time. Maybe it was relatable for Elon Musk's son, AE2467 or whatever the hell he's called. But for the rest of us, not exactly relatable. Also, it's kinda heartbreaking at the end of the movie when he goes to Ned and MJ and he can't bring himself to tell them who he is. Mainly because they're able to do what they always wanted to do without him. Honestly, I didn't see that coming. I do feel that at least MJ is gonna figure it out eventually though. I mean, her relationship with Peter was like the core of these movies. In fact, Tom Holland and Zendaya's performances were really the highlight of the whole trilogy. At least for me. Basically, Spider-Man No Way Home did everything it needed to do with the Spider-Man. Unfortunately, the rest of the movie didn't really work as well for me. Could have worked a lot better if they had the Spider-Man show up way earlier in the movie. Oh, and then there was that weird Venom post-credits scene. Man, I thought for sure he was going to be in this movie. They literally put him in the MCU and then immediately took him out. If you're curious about that scene, make sure to check out this video explaining the whole thing. And I'll see you next time on Movie Night.